Never trust it. Warren has a great quote about investing on margin, borrowing money. He says, if you're smart, you don't need it. And if you're dumb, you shouldn't be using it. Like there's no justification to be using it. I thought that was a big takeaway, but a lot of investors do. Even first-time retail novice investors, you open up an account with E-Trade or Robinhood and you can go into margin debt. You can borrow money to buy stock. And a lot of people don't realize the ramifications of that until you're in a bear market like we are now. And some of these stocks fall 50, 70, 80%, and they're wiped out. They lose everything.
Yeah.
It's a tough situation.
When you were researching these stories for the book, was it, what was the process like? Did you take 6 months to just go in a cabin and write the book and research all of these stories? Or?
It definitely wasn't that. I had spent over a decade writing about finance. I started as a blogger at the Motley Fool, and then I worked for the Wall Street Journal for many years. And then I started at the Collaborative Fund 6 or 7 years ago. So I've been a full-time writer for over a decade. And I started as a writer in 2008, which was an interesting time because that's when the world was falling to pieces. Everything was breaking left and right. And so I started my first couple of years as a writer, and I just wanted to answer the question, like, why did that financial crisis happen? I just wanted to try to explain it, really simple. And I realized, like, as time went on, that I could not answer that question through the lens of finance or economics. Like, there's nothing in an economics textbook that would explain why 2008 happened. It just wasn't in there. But if you were looking through the lens of sociology, like Keeping Up with the Joneses, or psychology, greed and fear, or politics or history or biology, all these other topics that had nothing to do with finance could perfectly explain exactly what happened in 2008. So that to me just opened up this idea that like you can explain the world of finance through the lens of things that have nothing to do with finance. And as a content creator, that was actually really big because finance tends to be very dry and boring. So if I could explain finance through the lens of biology or military history or something that might catch your attention a little bit more, that was a way that I could catch people's attention as a writer. So for years, I just wanted to try to explain what's going on inside of people's heads. I never believed that anyone could forecast the stock market or forecast the economy. That had no interest to me. I am very skeptical that people can pick the next best stock. Like that had no interest. But I was always really interested in what's going on inside of people's heads. How are they thinking about greed and fear and risk? Because it's usually totally counterintuitive to what the textbook says you should do. And it's just counterintuitive to what people think that they are actually doing, how they think about greed and fear. So I wanted to just find these little nuggets, these little stories to explain it. And then after doing that for 10 or 12 years, I felt that there was enough to take 20 of what I thought were the most interesting stories and anecdotes and turn them into this book. That's where it came from.
Wow, that's incredible.